very strong bilingual policy, and we have a very strong pre-K program, because we know that if you start early with kids, that's really the time to catch them. But because of funding, the money has been going down. And what we've been trying to do is, one, raise the amount of money we're spending on pre-K, but we're also trying to raise the quality and target services. So we pulled all of the grants back and redistributed based on need. Well, in order to do that, first we have to know where the highest need is, where the poorest neighborhoods are. We're trying to target English language learners early, for example. So we've run some analysis on what the economy looks like in different communities throughout the state. Then we cross-reference where there are early childhood centers. Then we cross-reference where there are children under the age of 5, where the heaviest concentrations are. And we try to find the areas where all three of those are meeting and really make sure that they have enough services for all kids to participate. Well, now we've added bilingual services to pre-K, which other states didn't have. And I actually started doing that work before I started at this job in an organization called the Latino Policy Forum, where we did policy and advocacy around education, immigration, and housing to try to meet the needs of the community. So at that time, one of the needs that we identified with the community, working with practitioners, was having bilingual pre-K. So we worked with the state, helped them. I was one of the stakeholders that was working with the state at that time to craft regulations, and I think they liked my work. And so when they were looking to fill this position, they called me and asked me to apply for it.
Wow, that's a turn of events. Have you, it sounds like you talked to big groups of people you don't know, people from different parts of the state. At any point in your life, were you extremely shy, or did you ever have problems confronting those people?
No. I've always been a talker. But I think that one of the skills that's been important to build over time in doing that kind of work is really trying to understand where people are coming from. Because a lot of the people that I talk to, we may have some disagreement or different views, different interests. And so it can be very hard when you walk into a room and say what you believe without taking a moment to step back and really put yourself in the shoes of the audience. So most of the time, I found that it's not that people are against what you want specifically or against the interest of any group of people. I work in education. Everyone wants the best for all kids. And so if you start there and you go, well, why are they disagreeing on this? You really have to think, is it because they don't understand the research? Is it because of money? A lot of times it's budgeting and things are just too expensive. Is it because they don't have the staff to do this? Is it because they just philosophically don't believe in what we're doing? Why is it that they're disagreeing? And so one of the skills that I've tried to really build and sharpen, and I've actually worked with students to sort of build this skill, is to be able to do a bit of power analysis. Take a step back, look at a person as a rational person, figure out what is it that they want, what is it that matters to them, what are their values, what are their priorities, and where do we line up, where do we share some of those. If you really value kids testing high on tests because that demonstrates their achievement, and that's what you believe in, well, I can talk to you about how my program will help kids actually achieve better on those tests and demonstrate achievement. But if what you really value is the maintenance of the home language because of culture, because of what it means to the family, well, then I can talk to you about that. And they're different approaches, different frames, but it's the same issue. It's the same kind of services.
If you don't mind, if we can go into a little bit of your childhood to get an idea of your background, what were the types of adversities that you faced as a child, as a Mexican-American woman, that brought you to where you are now?
So I think that there were a few. So one, the one that you probably know about in particular was that I was in a car accident when I was 12. And that car accident, I think, was really a turning point in a lot of different ways. One, really, when you're in a situation like that, I was in the hospital for 3 months. For the first month, it was on and off, whether I'd survive, whether I'd be able to walk again. So that always gives you more drive if you walk away from an experience like that the right way. But I think the sense of community, it just becomes even a little bit stronger because you realize you couldn't have done it alone. And the way people have supported you mattered. But it was also, I think, about living life to the fullest. And more than anything for me, it was a sense of purpose. I survived something that didn't look like I should have survived. I was in an accident with my family that it looked like nobody should have survived, and we all did. And I was the most injured, but I made it, and I was fine, and now I walk. And so even when I went to college, I wanted to do very physical activities so that I could challenge myself, push myself, really sort of reach my potential. But I think it's also, my mom always used to say, you know, I pray to God every day that if he saved you, I promised him you would do great things. And you sort of keep those words in your head and think, okay, now I'm really going to do great things and help people and do important work. But I think, you know, one of as a Latina in particular, one of the moments that most marked me, and I guess this was a bit of, I never really saw being Latina or being, you know, either being a woman or Mexican American as a challenge. But I guess I realized later that I was always in gifted programs, magnet programs, and I was the only one, usually. I was the only Latina. And so, but that was normal for me. And so then I'd go to church on the weekends, and there were a lot of Spanish speakers, and you know, we'd have food at the church, but it was a very different atmosphere from school. And whenever I'd compete, competing was always about sort of that school environment. Well, when I was 15, I participated in a program, a youth leadership program with the National Hispanic Institute. It was a debate that was set up. I didn't really know much about it. I didn't have a team. I didn't prepare in advance because I didn't exactly know what it was. When I showed up, I realized that everyone else had a team. Everyone else had prepared in advance. But it was a program that was designed for young Latinos to talk about Latino issues, social issues, political issues, do research, go to the library, and you know, just learn about themselves, but then debate against others. Well, I was good at talking. I was good at researching. I was always good in school. I was always one of the top students. So I figured it would be easy. And so when I showed up and realized everyone else had been researching, hit the library the day before, started researching, prepared my speeches, prepared my research, and the next day I walked into the first round. It was a pair, it was a mock trial. So me and my partner, and we were against this group of Latina girls, these two girls that were so dynamic and on the money. They were just smart. Everything that I said, they had a rebuttal for. They had research to back it up. They were just solid, and they beat us that round. And I remember being so shocked and disappointed afterwards, and reflecting over time, even over the course of those few days, I remember realizing that I had thought it would be easy because I was competing against Latinos, and I had never experienced competition academically with other Latino kids. So I had just sort of assumed I was unique, I was special, it was sort of, but it was just sort of normal. It's not like I had specifically thought I'm better than everyone. It was just sort of a normal thought that, oh, well, I'm kind of unique, like I'm really good, right? And that experience marked me because I still remember today, and I was 15 at the time. So the rest of that competition, we beat every other single team, and we were better than just about everyone. We made it to the finals.